Currently 15, 2 in progress. They've indicated they need an additional 13 within auxiliary police.
Thank you. So I was doing, I know we have this conversation, but through the chair to the safety director and the chief of police. There's been this conversation about the amount of law enforcement officers that we have. And I just want to again, at this moment, just put, so they have the last reported things from the FBI as far as how many police officers for in various cities nationwide. The ratio is 2.4 per every 1,000. For every 1,000 residents. And then I guess for cities that are under 10,000, it's 4.2 for every 1,000 residents. And then countywide, when you look at, like, I'm assuming sheriff departments or counties, is 2.8 per 1,000 residents. Currently, right now, the city of Cleveland is at 3.1 per 1,000, and that's if you take 375,000 residents, for 1,175. So, I'm pointing that out to that the city of Cleveland proportionally is in the company of other law enforcement departments. And so this whole narrative of saying that we are at, that we don't have enough law enforcement officers, I just don't think that's a helpful context. Understanding, like, when you look at nationally, we are right in the fold. And again, and that is not to say that people, I'm just putting out that this is the data from police departments all across this nation, both small to countywide, and we still have more than that. So just wanted to put that in context and really think about ways that we can right size or deploy our officers and utilize the skill set they have in the society that we have to let people know that there are real sincere investments being made to ensure that people are safe and can have a good life here in the city of Cleveland. So that's just what I want to know, at least this part of the conversation. So thank you so much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councilman Starr.
Thank you, Chair. Only few questions I have is with regard to the RISE initiative, but also to the 12-hour shift. Through the chair to Chief Drummond, what has been a response from officers? Just, I know you can't speak for all 1,175 officers, but what has been the census, or what have you heard from officers since we implemented this change?
To the chair, to Councilman Starr, that's a great question, and it's a question I had for my staff during our first meeting of our command staff, and that was the question to ask, how's that going? So, of course, we want to make an assessment. We have to have probably several months to several weeks to make a true assessment, Councilman, but as it stands right now, the feedback has been very positive. From our members and also from our command level officers, especially our 5 district commanders, that so far, and again, we're early into the year, so far things are working well. Our staffing is good, and the officers are again, from what's been reported to me, the officers are so far happy. And again, we're early into the 12-hour shifts. We just started January 1st.
Okay. Oh, so you said just started, to the chair, January 1st?
To the chair, the Councilman Starr, that's correct.
So within the first quarter, is there a way right around April for us to possibly get out an assessment with some different questions that police can take anonymously without them being obviously or told that it's this officer and this is their response, but just some type of survey that we can get out to the police officers up in right around April for about a month time period, so we can see some hardcore, some type of data in May, so we can get prepared for obviously the summer, just to see where they are at with them working the first quarter of the year, 12-hour shift. Some type of survey will be something I would love to see come out through the chair to the chief, if that's something you think we could do.
To the chair, to Councilman Starr, like I stated, we're going to do an assessment. Part of that is to put a survey out to our officers, and it's anonymous, to the officers to see how the 12-hour shift is going. And again, we need to have at least, I think a quarter is good, to see how it's going, and if we need to make adjustments, we will, obviously adjustments with the union, because we can't do things arbitrarily. We have to sit down with the unions, but we can do a survey.
All right, and also through the chair, I know we're budgeting obviously to bring on an additional 180 officers. Last year around this time, I think we had a little bit more officers from the 1,175 that we currently have. My question would be, how many officers did we hire last year as compared to the numbers that we have retained? I know some of these numbers is a reflection of different things. People retired, people went into different careers, or some different changes. So I'm just trying to make sure I understand more clearly, like, what this 1,175 reflect of as far as bringing on more officers. Wait, I see it.
Yeah,
I see it. So
last
22
year and 23.
Yep, 22 we had in 2023, and then 22 in 2023, and then 33 in 2022. So my question would be is, through the chair to the chief, or probably the chief director or the chief, what is the actual budget to hire these 180 officers in 2024?
Our total budget amount is $1498.
To the chair, that's correct. Our maximum, our full staffing budgeted is a $1,498, $1,498.
Just a point of, that's the same number we used last year, correct?
To the chair, to the councilman, that's correct.
Okay.
1,498 per officer?
No.
No.
Total.
That's
Are you, to the chair,
How many
Councilman Starr,
officers?
are you asking are you asking for a dollar amount, or are you
Yes.
asking for an amount of officers?
Yeah, so right here it says we are budgeted to hire 180 officers through the chair in 2024. So those 180 officers, it costs how much to fill those? So that means if we hire those 180 officers, what is the budget for them to be hired? Like what's the cost? Yes, to the chair.
That will be reflected in the budget that we're going to get. So I don't know if they have that number right now, but that will be reflected in what we're to receive February 1st.
The chair is correct. We'll have that figure. Again, the director's looking in his folder. He may have that. I don't have that figure in front of me.
Okay, and
if I may, so the budgeted amount for full-time, or for full-time officers is $10,420,848.85. That is the full budgeted amount for officers in 2023.
yeah, but that's for the 1,175, correct? Or because what I'm just
So the total amount, I'm sorry, the total amount for salaries and benefits, uniforms, for the officers is a total of $144,455,947.85. To get that amount, I can do the math, but we would divide that by the $1498, and that would give us the amount per officer. My estimated amount per officer. Again, I think the finance department is best equipped to break the numbers down in that sense, but that is the budgeted amount for the $1498.
okay. That's good. That's great. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chief, for that explanation. So I'm definitely going to ask some questions when we get to more budgeting. I don't want to harp on it, obviously, right here. But one thing I definitely want to look at is when it says the traffic tickets. You know, I'm just proud of. I'm just going to say this. I'm proud of 3rd District. I
To the chair,
mean,
Councilman Starr had
But-
two. The numbers are pretty good.
and what I mean by that is, I don't know if it's, they have all of their officers field, but when you see all offenses and you see by ticketed, by uniform, traffic tickets, and you look at by ticket, it shows third district. The third district has the last 1, 2, 3 years have tripled the number of tickets, offenses. So it seems that they are really out, and I've been working with a couple different commanders, from Commander Todd, Tucker, and all of them. They have done it. Obviously, every time I reached out to them, they respond, they help out as well. But then when I look at the holistic approach of the city, we have crime happening in a lot of places, and I'll never think the numbers will be that big of a difference by year in each district, as I'm seeing right now. But then I also, just for all Cleveland, ticketed stuff. But then I look at, obviously Case Western Reserve and CSU RTA, they're a little bit different. So what I'm trying to get a sense is, do we have something, and we do have something in place where these other organizations and other law enforcement agencies are able to patrol other places in the city? And if so, do they do routine stops or anything like that, or what's the law, just so I can make sure I'm not
Sure.
off?
To the chair, to Councilman Starr. The other entities within the confines of the city of Cleveland, CSU, Case Western Reserve, University Circle, police and so forth, we have a MOU with those particular agencies. And part of the MOU allows them to enforce traffic within the confines of their boundaries. And within the confines of their boundaries, they're able to issue citations and parking pins, we call them, parking infraction notices and so forth. So they do have the ability, based on the authority that's given to them or granted to them from the city of Cleveland.
Okay, well, that's all I have, Chair, now you. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, I would argue the other side of that equation, that tickets are substantially down in the rest of the districts, substantially down. Are these moving violations?
To the chair, that's correct.
And so it's no wonder when I go to neighborhood meetings and I hear complaints about traffic enforcement, I look at the 5th district, we are less than half of what took place in 2021. That's not acceptable. Not acceptable to myself, my colleagues, and we've got to figure out how to do more traffic enforcement collectively in the city, because we're hearing that at all of our neighborhood meetings. So again, I know it's based on the number of officers we have assigned and working, and so as we go into the budgetary process, we have a lot on our plate to deal with, as the administration does. Council's always been here to help. We provided all the financial resources we were asked to provide, and then some. And I'm hoping, with what the director has indicated earlier, when he can give us the figures, that we're going to see a significant bump up. At least I hope there will be a significant bump up in people who've applied and people who will be hired within the division of police, because, man, I'll tell you, we need it. I was at an event, as I said, on Sunday for a large gathering of folks from the Glenville neighborhood, and specifically from St. Aloysius, and they had their event was at the Fatima Center, and I heard repeatedly the need for traffic enforcement and police visibility in the Glenville neighborhood, and I took it all to heart what I heard that day, and so I want to make sure going into this year. So again, I want to clarify that. So you were once again coming to us with a budget of $1,498 for 2024. Is that correct?
Chair, may I just ask a question? You had said that we are less than half of 2021. I'm trying to. What was that?
And for traffic, unless I'm looking at something wrong here.
For the ticket, for the
Tickets.
Oh, for the
Yeah.
district.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. I was looking at the
Yeah, look at the
total.
numbers. Look at the numbers in the district. I mean, those numbers are pitiful. So, and Councilman Hairston, myself, Councilman Conwell, we want traffic enforcement in our neighborhood. We're hearing it at all our neighborhood meetings. So, okay. Any other questions for the Division of Police? Again, we'll be getting into much more during the budgetary process. Oh, Councilman Bishop, thank you for attending.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's my honor to be here this morning. Mr. Chairman, I got a couple of questions in line with what you just was talking about as far as the district ticketing. So I want to know what's the big discrepancy between the districts? Why the third district, and I'm not trying to come down on the third. I'm glad the third district has so much activity over there when it comes to tickets, but why come other districts are not, we're not seeing the same number and level of tickets in the other districts? Why is that, Mr. Chairman, through the chairman to the chief and to the director?
Director, Chief, please respond to Councilman Bishop.
So some of that may go into factors, Councilman, through the chair, of the, of course, staffing, and for, the other calls for services. We have our traffic enforcement, and our patrol officers engage in traffic enforcement as well. But if there are, as we have talked about, there was an uptick in motor vehicle thefts. We had, a period of time where there was an uptick in homicides, felonious assaults. So if those officers are engaged in addressing those part one crimes, or working in task force in groups to go after suspects or warranted suspects, that takes them away from the road, trying to address those other issues. So in large part, it's staffing. It's not the due diligence of the officers. It's we've had several warrant sweeps. We had the violent crime reduction details. We had the all hands of officers across districts dealing with the grand motor vehicle thefts. Those things can impact those numbers in a specific district.
And if I can also, if I can chime in, my staff just sent me some statistics. It's different from the document that we have in front of you that you have as well. For District 5 in particular, they issued a total of 2,072 tickets, so it's significantly more than what's on the document in front of you. And I have to, again, that's why we're going to have a final report, which will have all these numbers on. So the numbers are going to be a little bit closer than the document that you see in front of you right now. And again, it's over 2,000 tickets that were issued by D5 personnel.
So in District 4, in the councilman's district, Councilman Bishop, what would be the number?
To the chair, I can get you those particular numbers. I don't have it in front of me, but I can get you the totals for District 4. But again, the numbers are going to be much different than the numbers you probably see in front of you now.
Okay. So you're telling me the numbers that have been provided are not accurate here?
To the chair, that's correct. From what was just sent to me, that's correct. And we'll reconcile that, and that's important.
Thank you.
As the director said early on, we're trying to reconcile all of our numbers. I'm sorry that we have this in front of you, which is not a complete product, and we made that clear that we are reconciling those numbers. And so we'll have a final report, which will have all the correct information, because the document that we will supply to you will be vetted thoroughly.
We wanted to be responsive to council's requests, and these are the raw numbers that we have. With the vetted numbers will be different.
Councilman Bishop?
Okay, so, Mr. Chairman, I hear that the director said it was staffing sometimes. It can vary staffing. But when are we going to make this a priority? Councilman Jones is not here, and he on Monday talked about just how out of control traffic is in his neighborhood, how many accidents. And it's my neighborhood also. It's not just his neighborhood. We having accidents on every corner. We having folks, businesses hit. We having houses being hit. We have cars running up on curves. Right in front of my house, a car jumped the curve and ran up on the curb over the Christmas season. But we're not seeing enforcement in our community. So when are we going to make staffing when it comes to traffic? Because that's one of the most important pieces of police work that we can do, Mr. Chairman. And I know I've heard you say that over time. Is bread and butter policing is traffic enforcement. So when is the police department is going to make traffic enforcement a priority?
If I may,
Director,
and
Chief.
I want to make sure that I state that I make this statement with all due respect, is that we just had a piece of legislation to deal with distracted driving in front of the body. And we that is a significant issue. Speeding, distracted driving are probably the largest ones. And we have the legislation so that we can deal with the distracted driving so that our officers can have that law as a tool to pull people over and to cite them when they see folks engaging in that distracted driving using these handheld devices. It's not a matter of when it's going to be a priority. It has always been a priority. Yes. It is absolutely a priority. We've had conversations with officers, and they understand that traffic enforcement is necessary. And Chair, to his credit, always ask us, what can we do legislatively to help give our officers the tools to address this? And we came with a tool. So it is absolutely a priority. Are dedicated to increasing the staffing levels to the Division of Police is a priority of Mayor Bibb, myself, the chief. That hiring event was really successful. I want to be cautious because I want to make sure that we get that number that is going to enter into our academy to council so that it's accurate. But we need legislation to help support the officers to conduct these traffic stops. Our communication with the court, Mayor Bibb met with the judges. It's a priority for the judges as they see these citations coming in. The vehicle fatalities that we have witnessed are, they're abhorrent. It is something that we need to address, but it is absolutely a priority. Our staffing levels are going to help us address the priority of traffic enforcement, address the priority of felonious assaults, address the priority of homicides, address the priority of rape. We have to get staffed. And I think that the more accurate numbers that are going to come out in the end of year report for 2023 are going to, put a more realistic view than the numbers that were provided, these raw numbers that were provided to council today.
Councilman Bishop?
Councilman Starr wants a point.
Yeah, just one point I want to ask is, how can we, with the 1,175 officers that we do currently have, how can we get everybody involved? And what I mean by that is, how do we get even the top people to be able to do some patrol duties too? I know we're going to probably go more in depth later, but what I'm talking about is just if we don't have enough staff here in city council offices, you find us as council members doing extra stuff to help. If you don't got enough employees in a nonprofit, you find the president writing the grants because it's a shortage. So what I'm saying is, we have a staff shortage as far as police officers and get more bodies. But how do we require everybody to pick up a shift? Everybody to just to pitch in until we get to a level to say, so we can, help that, because if we got up to 1,175 officers, the viewers at home, our residents know that. And they say, well, why don't I still not see enough? Because even though we're short, we still should see more police present. And I'm just...
That's more than the point, but it was directed to whoever can respond. And get back to Councilman Bishop.
To the chair, to Councilman Starr, all officers are contributing, from the commanders to the captains, the lieutenants, sergeants, patrol officers, detectives, and so forth. All of our officers are contributing to patrolling as much as they can. A little more challenging for myself, but I get out there when I can. I had a meeting with my staff early in the year and throughout the year relative to making sure that we have sufficient amount of officers on the street. answering calls for service, answering to complaints of traffic, and so forth, and enhancing our traffic enforcement. As a matter of fact, myself, the director, and the mayor, we meet weekly, and we have reports relative to traffic enforcement because we know that's very important in addition to obviously suppressing the violent crime in our neighborhoods. So that is a priority for us. For me, it's about complaint driven, the traffic enforcement. I don't want to be arbitrary in our enforcement. I want to make sure that we are responding to complaints of traffic violations. I can speak specifically about Opportunity Corridor. We get complaints about that particular corridor on a regular basis. So it's a consistent complaint for our traffic unit as well as the 3rd District to make sure that we have enforcement on that particular stretch. And to Councilman Starr, to the chair, to Councilman's Bishop, I'm sorry, traffic is a priority for us. And if I can correct the information as well in front of us relative to the 4th District. And again, we're going to have all of the information relative to our traffic citations, but specifically in the 4th District for this year. And again, we're still reconciling the numbers to make sure we have accurate information in our final report. What I have is just under 5,000 citations that were issued in District 4 for the year for 4,951, just under 5,000. And as a matter of fact, it's about a 32% increase from the year before. So we have enforcement in the 4th District, and again, part of my requirement for the district commanders and all the district commanders, and make sure we increase our enforcement relative to our traffic complaints.
Councilman?
Mr. Chairman, I appreciate the chief's response, and since you brought this up, Chief, complaint driven, I want you to take a look at this. I got this sheet compiled of all this councilmatic complaints on one issue that I had in the 4th District. It's both back and front, plus the sticky notice when we last called the police. I've been filing a complaint with the 4th District for nearly 2 years. And I've gotten one response, and that was from a former commander of the 4th District. But not since then have I gotten a response of this issue that I complained about numerous times. And you know what, and the reason why I'm here is because I'm so worn out from this resident that I have that keeps calling me about this issue that's been gone unaddressed. Now I understand that police work is difficult, and we have a lot of issues, and we have a lot of things going on at the same time: staff shortages, crime, and other things. But for us not to address our citizens and then not respond to a councilmatic complaint, Mr. Chairman, I think is unacceptable. I am not happy with the lack of response that I have gotten with my councilmatic complaints over the last couple of years. And Mr. Chairman, I just want to ask the chief, and I want to ask the safety director, what do this body have to do to get our issues addressed within the 4th District? I cannot say any other districts. I'm not working in any other districts, but with the 4th District, I am not being, my councilmatic complaints is not being addressed.
Okay.
If I may.
Wait a minute. Let me just say this before you respond to the councilman. We talked briefly about this in the chairman's meeting on Monday. The council is under great stress collectively because, again, and I could get historical perspective, I was here when we had far many more officers. And so when I asked for traffic enforcement, I could get it. When I asked for special attention, I could get it. And so, and again, under the charter, under the rules, council cannot hire, we cannot fire, we cannot deploy, we cannot administer. We're prohibited by law. Councilman Bishop is very diligent, very concerned about his community. And when he turns in a complaint, and we all turn in complaints, and sometimes I know it takes time, but there's got to be a reasonable process. When a councilman turns in a complaint, somebody's got to respond to that council person within a reasonable period of time and tell he or she, what's going on and why they can't. And so often, especially I want to go back to this reporting process, a lot of times we find out from neighborhood residents in the community on a specific crime or action before anybody notifies us from the Division of Police. And you got to understand it. There's a growing frustration within the body. I hear it from my colleague because I know how he cares about his neighborhood. And I want to stress again, we are on the receiving end, like more so than we've ever have been. I'm telling you that. Whether it be the traffic, whether it be the violence, the car thefts, the Kia boy, I can go down the list myself, all of us. As again, I heard on Sunday from a bunch of folks from the Glenville neighborhood. But someone's got to explain to him why isn't someone following up with him? So someone, let's hear it.
If I may, because I don't want to release any
Yeah.
citizen name for this, but I
Yeah.
just want to make sure that the viewers are aware. And Councilman, are you referring to the highlighted ones? Because I want to.
Yeah, the ones that's highlighted.
Okay, if I can just, and I'm only going to read it so that we can have it in context for the conversation for those who are viewing it, is that the one that says it's a tractor trailer and tow truck parking on the side of 11200 Dove Avenue, various times of day and night. There was try to encourage the caller to get the license plate, and also told the caller that it is not illegal for them to park there. So it's about tractor trailer and the tow truck parking. The other one is it's another one that's highlighted, refers to the commercial tow truck parked at that location again. It's been there for 5 days and hasn't moved. And the other highlighted one says that the truck was reported last week, commercial tow truck parked on the side of that street, same street, for 5 days. So what I like to do is that I know that the chief addresses matters that are brought to his attention. I believe that I have a reputation amongst this body that if there is a continuous situation going on in your ward, that I'm responsive directly as well, and the police response. We have to know that sometimes that while we do try to make sure that everything is addressed, that if it is a conduct that is, and I don't know specifically about this, and we will look into it, Councilman, but if it is a conduct that is annoying and bothersome, but it is legal, then we can only do so much. So if it's legal for the vehicle to be parked there, if our hands are tied by the law, of course, but if it's there for a prolonged period of time, the process would be for us to issue a citation to it, and if it is there, to go back and effectuate a tow. In the larger context, I would say this, that if there is a continuing issue that is happening in any of your wards, please make the chief and or I aware of it so that we can react to it. I wasn't aware of this. I'll let the chief speak to it, but we'll definitely
Thank you, Director
take that
Chief.
look into it.
So, Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Bishop.
and Mr. Chairman, I want to respond to directors. Director, I do understand exactly what you just said, and I appreciate what you said. But only thing I want to hear is that from the commanders or from the district, that listen, it's not. It might be an irritant, but it's not illegal, and I can relay that back to. But he thinks that the police department is just not doing, and both of us, police department and his representative, is not just on top of what he feels. But I just want a response, and this is not the first, this is not the only situation where I have not gotten responses back. This is just the one I brought today.
Okay.
So I just want to, I just want some confidence that if I tell my resident, listen, I will have this looked into, I want have just a little bit of confidence that the police will actually look into our Councilmatic complaints.
To
That's all.
the chair, and specifically Councilman Bishop, you will get a response relative to this and other complaints. You will get a response.
That's what we want here. And I want to say for all 17 members, they need to get a response from either the district commander, the chief's office, the safety director. And again, I'll say this, when I've contacted the safety director on issues, he's gotten back to me. But there's got to be better communications with the district commanders and members of council.
To the chair, the councilman, to the chair and all council members, we have a very responsive command staff, district commanders, I believe, and I believe that they are responsive. If they are not, then I need to know so we can make sure that they are responsive. Relative to notification to the various council members, we have Sergeant Diaz, our PIO, relatively new PIO. He's charged with making sure that anything critical in or newsworthy events that occurs within your respective areas that you're notified. So that will happen. If that's not happening, please let me know so we can make sure that it does. And again, from me, the chief of police, you're hearing that the commanders will be responsive, and I believe they are, to your complaints. And Councilman Bishop, specifically about this issue, you will get a response today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other questions for police? Because we're going to move on to fire and then EMS. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll be very brief. Because a lot's been said about traffic, and I agree with most of, really all of it. You know, and I will say to their credit, the first district, when I call with traffic issues, has, as far as I can see, been responsive to getting people out to specific locations. I think the challenge is that it's a moving target. There's not a problem specifically with Warren Road and Montrose Avenue. I just saw someone blow through a red light when they very clearly could have stopped, because half of the traffic on Warren Road is just people cutting through West Park between interstates. And I think the problem we face is that people drive in Cleveland in ways that they would never drive in Lakewood, they would never drive in Cleveland Heights, because the perception is if you do that in Cleveland Heights, you're getting a ticket. And it is not to say that Cleveland doesn't ticket, but the perception is certainly that Cleveland doesn't ticket. And that's why you see people passing traffic in school zones on Rocky River Drive during school pickup, because they don't want to have to sit in traffic. Just the way people act is really appalling and frustrating, but it's a societal issue. I think something that I would be interested in, we see there's 1,175 officers, but understanding, so because we're a large city, we have, we have a homicide unit, we have a narcotics unit, we have a lot of things that are other communities in the county just don't have. So when it comes to how many officers are actually in zone cars on the streets, how many are in the traffic bureau, and how are they dispersed by district? And then another thing I'd be interested in is understanding the resident population of each district. Because yes, downtown has a very large commuter population, and we have to staff accordingly because there are people here. But that is, arguably, by living in, the concern is that if you live in Cleveland, when we talk about Councilman House Jones and then the per capitas, how does per capita break down by districts, and how is that aligned with all of our other various needs? So one of my concerns, and I'd love to see data that disprove it, is if West Park and Lakewood have comparable populations, what is the per capita officer ratio within West Park zones to the city of Lakewood? And to what degree are residents of the city of Cleveland having to have fewer officers doing just the resident-facing work because we have to worry about Brown's traffic, because we have to worry about downtown being a jobs hub, because we have an airport, and trying to figure out how we can go from there to try to ensure that we are able, one of our various needs obviously should be having a strong police presence on resident-facing items in the district, and a concern, I think, is because of all of these various needs, traffic in the neighborhoods ends up being an area of give, and that's not a criticism, that's just the reality we're facing, but if we're going to, if this is an issue and it is something that we aspire to correct for, I think we need to understand what the lay of the land is. So I guess something that I would be interested in, and a request that I can make through staff to make it more formalized and less erratic, is resident population per police districts and the number of officers within the police district that are, in patrols out on streets.
Yep, good point. Thank you. Okay, any other questions for police at all before we move on? Thank you. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Director. Fire. Oh,
Can I get back to you on your earlier question?
Yes.
So I'm not in the legislative section, but I just read
Yep.
your rules. It doesn't directly address what happens if there's a tie in a committee vote, but the committees are supposed to make a recommendation. It goes through committee to make a recommendation to the full council, and it addresses recommending passage or not recommending passage
Right.
vote. But even if it doesn't recommend passage vote, it still goes on to the next committee.
That's
so
exactly.
It only makes sense that
and
if there's a tie.
the chair can relieve a piece, any piece of legislation.
Yeah, and they can send it back to
Right.
your committee if the
Yes.
full council wants
Yeah.
a better vote or
Thank
whatever.
you.
So that only makes sense.
Thank
that
you.
It moves on.
Okay, fire. Thank you, Chief Drummond. Thank you. Don't forget Monday nights.
Yes, sir.
Want to make sure. Okay, fire.
Chair, if I may, because of Chief Luke,
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, we'll.
I can answer some questions, but.
No, I think I have the data on fire. If there's any questions, requests, we'll do those to staff on fire. Okay,
Thank you, Chair.
EMS, Commissioner, come on up. And is animal control here?
Yes.
He was?
He's in the building.
Okay. Okay. Commissioner Wheeler. Deputy Commissioner, thank you. Director, update us on EMS.
So EMS in 2023, we saw we have the swearing in of Commissioner Wheeler and Deputy Commissioner Chris Chapin. Some dynamic things have been happening with EMS with regard to staffing, community engagement, and then intergovernmental engagement as well.
Okay.
So we have had, we've graduated classes. We've instituted a new lateral program for paramedics. EMDs have been fully staffed through some hiring changes that we've made. I know that Councilman Slife will be glad to hear this, is that Commissioner Wheeler will be able to speak today on our progress in developing towards community CPR. We are working on, Commissioner Wheeler is working on, along with Deputy Commissioner Chapin, an EMR program for CMSD students for the summer, for those who are interested in medicine as a profession. We've done Stop the Bleed training for members of the administration, offered it to members of City Council. We have are going to expand the Stop the Bleed training to animal care and control staff. So there are a lot of things happening in that realm. Another one of Commissioner Wheeler's accomplishments is the way to address those repeated callers for minor incidents, partnering with the hospitals, the fine hospitals that we have in the city of Cleveland. That is what Commissioner Wheeler has shared with me. He's best equipped to discuss it, but I wanted to thank him, Deputy Commissioner Chapin, and all of the staff at EMS for what they do for our city.
Okay.
Commissioner?
Commissioner, welcome to the table.
Good afternoon, Chair.
Okay.
I'd like to say that hopefully by the end of this first quarter, we'll be looking to be fully staffed. We are 24 down now as far as EMTs and paramedics.
How many EMTs, how many paramedics?
I don't have that exact
Okay.
number in front
Okay.
of me, but just overall as a whole,
Okay.
we're at 280, and we are staffed we're budgeted for 304.
Okay.
Our dispatch is fully staffed. We're in the process now of interviewing for a lateral transfer class that is slated to start the first or second week in February.
Yes.
We have offered 11 conditional offer letters. and we have another 7 interviews to go. So we can potentially have a class of at least 17 or 18, possibly, if everyone accepts. And then that puts us in a good position to move forward.
Okay, how many units are you operating daily now?
Well, we are, as I mentioned in the budget hearings last year, that due to the reduction of our head count, we were going to target 23 during the day
Yeah.
and 19 at night. There are some times that we don't reach that due to staffing issues,
Okay.
which we've discussed before, Chair.
Yeah.
But recently, like a couple days ago, we ran 25 units during the day.
Okay.
And we ran 21 at night.
Okay.
There are times that we reach our old targeted goal of 25 and 21.
Okay.
But
So we had the 6 paramedics. I was there for the swearing in.
Yes.
That was the first time I've ever seen that, lateral folks coming over. And you're anticipating some more of that to take place.
yes,
Okay. Touch, again, which is the biggest sore spot, is the issue, I don't, with the frequent callers, but someone who's calling in with the stub toe versus the one who's calling in with chest pains. That's been something we've talked about over the years. And I understand that because when I sat next to you at the swearing-in ceremony, you had indicated that you were in the process of addressing that. But we've talked about this for a long period of time. What are we really doing to get a handle on that?
well, I've shared with Chief Director that we run, every other month, we run a report for the 3 major hospital systems. And then in that report has the most frequent callers.
Yeah.
And those most frequent callers were pretty consistent over the year. Now, we make phone calls to them, and we try to address whatever issues they're having as to why they're calling so frequently. Now, this is something that could definitely be ramped up some, but my focus was on staffing first.
Okay.
So I work in conjunction primarily with Metro Health, and I'm not calling it a program because it's just ongoing conversation.
Yes.
If it's someone that constantly calls, we see if we can't address the issue, we make contact to see if the hospital can address the issue. And then sometimes we come up with a plan, sometimes we don't.
Yeah. But the thing is this. Obviously, the council worked many, many years ago. We put together the white paper. And then when I was chairman, that was 20-plus years ago, made recommendations, and the previous administrations took to heart many of those recommendations and implemented those. In fact, the majority of them. But this ongoing issue, I want to, again, we are not an Uber. We are not a taxi service. And so I'm wondering, does this have some bearing upon that we are so backed up or delinquent on EMS billing, that people are not getting the bills? And therefore, if I'm calling EMS constantly and I'm not getting a bill, is there any correlation between that?
Chair, I don't believe there's any correlation between that.
Okay.
And if I may, just
Yeah.
because billing is not done out of our.
No, I know, it's not
our
out of
department.
finance.
So
And we've addressed that yesterday, and we're going to continue because there's thousands and thousands of outstanding invoices that have not been processed, and there's a dollar amount, and I've asked for that dollar amount. But I was just wondering if there's any correlation. If someone keeps calling and they're not getting billed for the service, is there any correlation?
Chair, I don't believe that there's any correlation. I believe that the biggest problem is that people, when they need help and they don't have the resources to get the type of help that they need,
Okay.
that they use EMS as a safety net.
Okay.
Now, once I address some staffing issues, this person I'm bringing in at the end of this month is going to focus on community CPR. They're also going to focus on making some phone calls that I was doing personally to address some of these frequent callers.
Yeah, okay. Because that's a big concern of us. If someone is having a cardiac arrest, they're in a car accident, they fall down a set of steps, and then someone has got a sprained ankle or sprained wrist, I mean, to me, we got to set some priorities here.
And Chair, I agree, but with this moving forward, seeing that we've identified a staff member
Okay.
that's going to try and oversee community CPR and this process,
Okay.
then we'll work on trying to hone in and
Okay.
fix some of the problem. But the primary focus was on staffing.
Okay, and the proof will be in the pudding. And
Chair-
so I will say this, I was encouraged when I sat in the swearing in and saw those 6 paramedics, because I said to myself, of all these swearing in ceremonies I've attended over the years, I've never seen that before. So as I've said to some people, I see light at the end of the tunnel in EMS. And I'm hoping that we're going to get there within the first quarter of 2024. So I'm optimistic, maybe overly optimistic, but I'm optimistic that we're going to get the staff on board that we need so we can provide this critical service to our citizens. Director?
Chair, I just wanted to add is that, we're very mindful of how we voice our concern for those who are calling EMS that what may not be perceived as an emergency in the beginning. Our seniors are probably are impacted the most because from talking to some of them, is that some of them are hesitant to call because they already feel the EMS system is already overburdened. And we want to make sure that our seniors know that we're there, and if they have an issue for us to call. Our concern is always that if someone calls for, a stomach ache or a headache, and we don't go, it turns into a heart attack or an aneurysm.
We
have to keep that in mind. But these our first responders are they're fine at the work that they do, but we want to make sure, I can't stress this enough, that our senior citizens, we're there for them.
No, and we're all aware that there are major issues within a whole healthcare delivery system, where we need better and more proactive health care for many of our residents, and maybe they wouldn't be calling EMS.
Correct.
So that's one of the things that I keep advocating. That's why I advocated to get a satellite office of Metro Hospital out at the food bank, and which is, in the process of being opened up.
And Chair, I'd like to say that once our crews arrive on scene for a senior, and they're not having what's perceived as a medical emergency,
Yes.
but they see a need that this senior may need some help,
Right.
we have a process that we send a referral to the Department of Aging.
Okay.
And the Department of Aging, they're very responsive with following up
Yeah.
with that and let us know what they've done.
Hey, as I said, I have a lady that calls me every day. On Christmas, 7 times on Christmas Day.
Spoke about that.
Yeah, I think she just wants someone to talk to. And I'm sure you get those same kind of phone calls in EMS. There are people that, but anyway, I again, to my colleagues, I think I believe there's light at the end of the tunnel here. But we've got to really pin this thing down with the frequent callers and low priority calls versus high priority calls. I don't ever want to have to hear someone who had a heart attack losing their life because we were responding to someone with a stomach ache. I don't. None of us want to deal with that. So you know where we're at. Questions of EMS. Councilman Slife.
Thank you, and I appreciate the director's point that we don't want to, assume someone's crying wolf and find out that they were experiencing a real medical condition. I guess the counter to that is I think that maybe historically, it's like an ambulance is a mobile hospital. It's not a station wagon that takes you to the hospital as a transport shuttle, and maybe historically that was more the case as EMS has grown and evolved into more rapid medical care. But I do think that we need to find a way to explain to people that this is a mobile hospital. If you are able to drive yourself to the hospital, like when I tried to cut my finger off cutting onions, I was clearly able to drive myself to the hospital. And it's getting better.
You shouldn't be cooking. Okay,
Got to watch
but
the
anyway.
Browns game, though.
Right,
It was
okay.
pretty good. And I will just say thank you for the update on the community CPR. This is something that I've taken a particular interest in recently. I was at the YMCA, as I've told some of you, in December, and,
Yes.
and someone had a cardiac arrest. And basically because of the training of staff at the Y paired with being next door to Engine 39, it was probably the best place in West Park to have a cardiac arrest, and the individual's fine. But I think it drove home to me that had it been just me, even though I've gone through the CPR classes, kind of myself doubting the symptoms and things like that, and I think that we should really be striving for, throughout the community, consistent training on this, because it's important to understand the signs, be able to be calm, react, because as I can attest, it happens quickly and is pretty jarring. So I look forward to that unraveling, and I will say that I will be exploiting that person's time as much as I can at community events and things, trying to get people trained in that, and I encourage my colleagues to do the same.
Good. And I appreciate Councilman Slife you bringing it up. And again, I want to say to the Commissioner, we used to have yearly training here in council for council staff and anyone from the administration. We would do it right in this room. So I want to make that request again, that we get back to some type of process here, because I'm aware, very much aware, 30-plus years ago, there was a colleague sitting right at this very table who had a massive heart attack, and we had police and EMS folks, fire and EMS folks sitting right in that front row, and they weren't able to save him. So by the time he fell out of the chair on the floor, he was gone. So that always reminded me, you can be right there and not be able to save somebody. And so it was a very, I'll never forget that day, never ever forget that day. Any other, Councilman Starr?
Yeah, Dean, I just have a quick question to the chair, to Commissioner Wheeler. I've noticed over the holidays, I've got a surplus of residents reaching out to me in regards to different organizations in the neighborhood who are in need of AED defibrillators. I was going to ask, one, through the chair, where is a place that they have them? Is something EMS provides, or is there some places that we got grants to help with some people to get those type of equipment?
Through the chair to Councilman Starr. We don't provide AED, but we will provide AED training starting, like I said, with this person coming in at the end of the month. But there are grants, I believe, through American Heart where people can apply to get an AED. I believe AEDs are a great tool to enhance survivability for people in cardiac arrest. Currently, we service all the AEDs within the city buildings, and we have several here at City Hall, and now we're Mangan has worked with someone on my staff to get Narcan emergency stations placed by every AED here in the building. So I believe that the combination between that and city buildings will go a long way. But the key is to maybe get it out to businesses, and if there's something that can be done to make this happen, I'm willing to explore it with this body to see what can happen. But
Whatever you could provide to us or who we can reach out to, the council raises a very valid point. If there's somebody if you know of associations or entities that provide grants or assistance, anything you can provide to us, we'll follow up on that.
okay.
That's perfect. That's all I have, Chair.
Okay, any other questions for EMS? You have great, Commissioner and Deputy Commissioner, you have great responsibilities on behalf of our citizens. And again, I appreciate the invites always to the EMS events. As I've said, I think I believe there's light at the end of the tunnel this first quarter, and I hope I'm correct. So let's see what we got to do to make sure it happens. Thank you. Animal control, come on up. You're the last batter up. Thank you. Identify yourself, because you're relatively newbie.
Yes, I'm still relatively new, coming up on 4 months here.
4 months.
Not count my prior.
And you haven't been bitten yet, I hope not.
Not yet.
Okay.
I'm trying to avoid that. I'm
Okay.
trying to avoid that at all
Okay.
costs. But, my name is Bruce Campbell. I'm the manager, Animal Care and Control.
Okay. Okay. Tell us about animal control. Where are we at?
Well, we've had a busy year. We thought things would lighten up after post-pandemic things, but the volume has remained high. The volume remains high. We can have a total capacity of 156 animals, and we're routinely in that area. I'd say if I could use a couple of words to describe my experience thus far working at the kennel, I'd have to say honored and humbled in equal measure. Animal Care and Control is a great division of public safety, and I think it's mainly because of the employees. It's the employees that make that division great. The work that they do, their dedication to
Right.
saving these dogs and getting these dogs forever homes. And I'd be remiss if I didn't even mention our volunteers, city dog volunteers.
Yeah.
Every days like today, 10 or 15 volunteers will be in there making sure that these dogs get some time outside, they get some enrichment, some fresh air, and that does wonders for their mental health while being in the kennel until we can find them a home.
Well, do you have any other further comments?
No, I
Okay,
just wanted
well,
to start out with that, sir.
the lady girl that I have at home came from out of animal control, and there's days I'm glad that I got her, and there's other days I question whether it was a good move or not. So what I want to touch on, and then open up for questions, city dogs.
Yes, sir.
They're standalone 501c3,
Friends of City Dogs.
Friends of City Dogs. Now, the group that's associated with the animal control is what group? Because I
City
think
Dogs.
So I think there's some confusion there.
bit,
Yeah,
yes.
a little confusion. So City Dogs is a nonprofit as well, correct?
No, City Dogs is a trademark, and it's owned by the city, and it's the volunteer adoption arm of the kennel. So we own that trademark and that title.
But do you take donations?
Ye-
Does City Dogs take donations?
Absolutely, there's donations, I don't have the exact website, but we have like a wish list on,
So on that point, if you could provide us, all members of council, that entity information, so we can put in our newsletters. If
Yes,
someone
sir.
would like to maybe write a check, you accept checks?
except
I
checks.
just want to clarify. The City Dogs is owned by us, but the organization of City Dogs, separate from the city,
Right.
takes those donations. The Division of Animal Care and Control, we don't take donations. So I just want to clarify.
Okay, so if someone wanted to write a check to City Dogs,
We can get that information to you because
Yeah.
it would go to that entity.
but you're saying that the group associated with the animal control, I'm missing something.
No, I'm just saying as a government entity, like the Division of Police.
Right.
Like the Police Foundation can take donations.
Yeah.
The Division of Police can't. So the organization that does the volunteer work of City Dogs.
Okay,
Thank you. I just wanted to make that.
But did you think about creating that entity so people could make donations to your operations?
No, they can. What I'm saying is that if you wanted to make a donation, Chair, to City Dogs, that organization,
And I
you
have,
can. Yes.
and I have. But did the group associated with the kennel, with our animal control, if we wanted to make a donation?
Oh, they can receive. Yes, they
Friends
can
of
receive
City
the donation,
Dogs.
but not the Division of Animal Care and Control.
I understand that.
Okay.
Okay. So whatever you can provide us, if someone, we can put in our newsletter, if people want to donate, they want to donate whatever, a check, da-da-da-da, whatever you can provide to us. How many units we have operating?
Typically, right now, we have one west, and then we'd have 2 units on the east side.
Okay.
We're a little down on our animal control officers, a few workers, so we'd like to have 2 west and 2 east, and then we
Okay.
split the 3rd district, kind of
Are there,
between east and west.
are there job openings?
Yes, sir.
They're right now posted.
Not right at the moment.
Okay, well then,
We're working on
I would say work on that. What is the starting pay for animal control?
Animal control officer right now is $21.93.
Okay, that's something that might want to be looked at, reconsidered, Director. We want to get these positions filled because all of us are dealing, again, here's another quality of life issue. dealing with dogs that are roaming and not being properly cared for. If a dog, animals that are being abused and used, that goes to APL, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. As it pertains to dog breeding, that goes to what, building and housing?
Illegal breeding, yes, sir.
Okay. But are they, do you make those referrals, or are you being apprised of those as well?
I can't answer that 100%, so I'm not sure if they come in from us and go over to building and housing, or if they go from CPD or CDP.
If you can clarify that for us again for members of council. So if we come across cases where there is where there's what we believe to be illegal dog breeding, where that would go, and anything that you think is important to us to be able to, where we can better educate our citizens. So you're down, how many staff are you down at this point?
Currently, right now, we're down 15 total openings.
Wow. 15.
Not just animal control, those are animal care workers that clean the kennels and take care of the dogs, feed and water the dogs, but some clerks, a custodian, a vet tech, part-time veterinarian.
Director, if you can get that to us, we can all put that out on our neighborhood groups, our emails, et cetera, whatever we can get out. I mean, I want to make sure that the kennel is well staffed and well operated, because again, as a dog owner myself, I know the challenges that you have, because the problem in our city, unfortunately, is not a dog problem, it's a people problem.
Absolutely.
And that's where we're experiencing, and I'm upset the fact that people obtain dogs and then don't take care of them, or obtain dogs and then are involved in questionable behavior with them. And so at the end of the day, I want accountability. I co-sponsored the vicious dog legislation years ago here, and I would say, as the director's indicated, if there's anything that you think we need to look at from the standpoint of the council of increasing fines, penalties, whatever it may be, anything we need to look at, take another look at to improve your folks' ability to do their job, then let us know as soon as possible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, questions of the committee?
Chair, can I just raise one point?
Yes.
'Cause it may be a question. Is that under Manager Campbell's leadership, we are developing a animal care control of being part of the recruitment team. He's reaching out to institutions such as Kent State, Stotzenberger College. He has other colleges and organizations where we can go to the unique people who have a passion for this kind of work.
Good.
So we're doing some things with recruitment in that regard.
But again, whatever you can provide to us,
Will do.
because I have groups in my neighborhood that are heavily engaged with dealing with feral cats, and so they've been trying to do their best they can to deal with that issue. But whatever you can provide members of council, we can put in our newsletters, put out our neighborhood meetings, brochures, pamphlets we can pass out would be very helpful, Director, and to Mr. Campbell. Questions? Any other questions of the committee? Councilman Slife?
Just one quick hope. I believe in years past, the city contracts out for skunk removal.
Yes.
I believe in the past those contracts have gone live in May, but when I get the most calls about it in like March and April, as kind of we're beginning to move out of winter. So if there's any ability to front load the skunk contract by a couple months, it seems that that's when they become active. That would be useful for my call volume at least.
Is that part of the critter control?
Critter control, yeah.
Okay.
In that contract, we don't have a gap where we are without their service.
Okay.
So when we contract with them, critter control is generally the only one who responds when we put out the bid for that contract.
Okay.
They are
Okay.
yeah, kind of like the one show in town, I guess.
Yeah, we're all used to dealing with four-legged skunks and two-legged skunks, unfortunately. That's part of our challenge here in City Council. Okay, any other questions? If not, I want to thank Mr. Campbell. I appreciate your comments at the table. Keep us abreast. We hope those positions can get filled as soon as possible going into the first quarter of this year. Without any further questions, the Public Safety Committee is adjourned. Thank you, Director.
An intersection prohibits oncoming vehicles from passing through that intersection and can result in gridlock. In addition, blocking the box can prevent the passage of emergency vehicles such as police cars, fire trucks, and ambulances. Be aware of traffic control officers who may be outside on the street directing traffic. Check emergency supply kits. Do you have extra winter clothes, sufficient food and water, extra batteries, flashlights, and a battery or hand crank radio? What about medications, toys for the kids, pet food, and copies of important information such as numbers for your local utilities? Ensure that all smoke alarms and carbon monoxide detectors in your home are working properly. Take personal precautions and check on the vulnerable. The cold weather may put a strain on your heart. Follow your doctor's advice about shoveling snow or other strenuous work. Many injuries result from falls on ice-covered surfaces. Keep steps and walkways clean and free of ice. Infants and the elderly are most at risk for cold-related illnesses. Keep in touch with elderly or at-risk neighbors or relatives, making sure they are safe and that their homes are adequately heated. Dress appropriately in the cold. Almost all cases of hypothermia and frostbite are preventable. If you must be outside, dress appropriately. Wear loose-fitting layers to provide overall body warmth. A hat, scarf, mittens, and boots will provide additional protection from the elements. Cover your